Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 17 of the Unstoppable Entertainment Show, the most comprehensive entertainment news show on the internet. I am, of course, Nate Schaffner, otherwise known as the Unstoppable Nate. How are y'all doing this week? I hope you're doing well. I hope everybody's doing okay. And if not, I hope that this show provides a brief respite from whatever it is that you're going through. Got a big show for you guys this week. A lot of news. But before I get started, I just want to remind everybody that if you like this show, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and spread the word and tell your friends about this show. Also, if you have a comment, a question, or if you'd like me to talk about certain movies or franchises, you can email me anytime at the address listed in the description of this video. So, with that out of the way, give me just a second. Let me see here. So, with that out of the way, let's get things started. And I'm going to get things started with this. There is an upcoming drama film starring John Turturro, who I love. I think he's great. And it's titled "The Only Living Pickpocket in New York." Now, there has been some casting announcements regarding that film. This article is on CBR, published by Marcelo Masson. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And this article says that The Only Living Pickpocket in New York is an upcoming drama film from T Street Productions starring John Turturro as a career pickpocket forced into a high-stakes situation. Let's see. This article goes on to say that the film has recently added Tatiana Maslany, who was in She-Hulk, Steve Buscemi, and Giancarlo Esposito. And this article does point out that their roles remain undisclosed. This article goes on to say that the film follows John Turturro's character Harry in a desperate race against time through the streets of New York City. Okay, so first of all, I really like this cast. I'm a big fan of John Turturro, um, and Steve Buscemi is actually one of my favorite actors ever. I think uh, I think he can do both comedy and drama. It's funny. He was uh, for a long time he was a very serious actor, and then he would do he did all these indie dramas, and then he shifted quite successfully into doing comedy. I think he's very talented. Um, Tatiana Maslany, I like, and I really enjoyed. I really liked the She-Hulk TV show. I know a lot of people didn't, but I did. And I'm a big fan of Giancarlo Esposito. He played what was his character's name? Moff Gideon in The Mandalorian, and he was fantastic in that show. Excuse me, I'm just yeah, it was Moff Gideon. Um, but and I thought he was great in The Mandalorian. But I just wanted to point out that I really like this cast. And John Turturro playing a pickpocket who gets forced into a situation, and into a high stakes situation. That sounds intriguing to me. I like that, and I think this could be another kind of tour de force performance for John Turturro. And with a cast like Giancarlo Esposito, Steve Buscemi, and Tatiana Maslany, with a cast like that to back him up, I think this could be a great film. There's not much else to go on here, so I'm offering my opinion based on what we have here. Um, I think this could be a really the premise sounds intriguing to me, and I'm interested in seeing this. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this. So this next bit of news has to do with an upcoming um, horror movie titled Pendulum. I mentioned this film. I talked about this film several weeks ago, when it was revealed that Joseph Gordon-Levitt was going to star in this film. And there has been another casting announcement regarding that. This article is on CBR, published by Adam Mielstrup. And this article says that The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon star Norman Reedus has officially joined Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Phoebe Dynevor in a terrifying new genre film from producer Darren Aronofsky. Excuse me. This article goes on to say that per Deadline, Reedus will star alongside Gordon-Levitt and Dynevor in the new horror film Pendulum. That's the movie that I was talking about. From director Mark Heyman. Let me see here. Now, this article does point out that Mark Heyman, this will be his directorial debut, but he was a screenwriter for there's this movie called The Skeleton Twins with Kristen Wiig and Bill Hader, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. He also wrote Black Swan, starring Natalie Portman, which is unbelievable. If you guys have not seen Black Swan, it's such a mind trip, guys. It's so, and it deals with mental illness in a way. That is the main. I believe what I'm trying to say is that the mental illness that Natalie Portman's character lives with in Black Swan, it's now called dissociative identity disorder, but it used to be called multiple personality disorder. That's what I'm trying to say. And you really, Black Swan is a mind trip, guys. It's great. So Mark Heyman wrote those movies, but this will be his directorial debut. Now, this article goes on to say that per the official synopsis, Pendulum follows, quote, young couple Patrick, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Abigail, played by Phoebe Dynevor, on a journey to a New Age retreat in New Mexico, drawn by the possibility of healing after a traumatic event. Patrick is willing to do anything to help his wife, but becomes distrustful of the retreat's enigmatic leader even as Abigail falls under her spell. As paranoia builds, the couple must determine if the group's unconventional spiritual practices offer genuine healing or mask a terrifying truth that threatens to consume them both. Unquote. Reedus will reportedly play the couple's friend who introduces Patrick and Abigail to the New Age retreat. That's interesting. Okay, so we have a little bit of more plot and more character development here in this synopsis. So this reminds me, now I can only go on what I've seen. I have not seen Midsommar with Florence Pugh. But this synopsis, I've seen the trailers for Midsommar. That's as much as I've seen. But this synopsis kind of reminds me of Midsommar. And I want to watch Midsommar eventually. And this synopsis reminds me of that. I also love the idea of something that you thought was one thing turns out to be another, and it's not very pleasant, and it's, you know, it could lead to something really terrifying. I love that. Now what's interesting, and I could be going off on a limb. I could be going out on a limb here. But it does say that Norman Reedus will portray the couple's friend who introduces Patrick and Abigail to the New Age retreat. First of all, Norman Reedus, I love. I first saw Norman Reedus in Blade 2, and he was fantastic in Blade 2. And he's another one of my favorite actors. Now, what's interesting is that it says that he will introduce the main characters to this New Age retreat. Okay? Does he know? And I could be going out on a limb here, but does he know what this retreat really is? Or does he think it's something else and he doesn't really know what it's really like? You know what am I making sense? Like, does that, like, is he in on it? Or is he naive to the situation as well? Because that would be interesting. So there's that. And I'm a little nervous that this is Mark Hamine's directorial debut. Because, you know, and I've talked about this before, but directorial debuts, depending on how they're received, they could make or break your career. You know, it may, depending on how this movie Pendulum goes, Mark Hamine could go on to have a very successful career as a director or not. You know, I'm sure he's not the only, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who's thought about that. So I love the cast. I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I love the synopsis. I'm interested to see what kind of character Norman Reedus will be playing, whether he's in on it and whether he knows what this retreat actually entails or not. That's intriguing to me. Norman Reedus actually I saw this movie last year called The Bike Riders with Austin Butler and Jodie Comer and Tom Hardy, and he was in it. Norman Reedus, it was brief, but he was great. So I love this. This sounds so great to me, and it's, you know, it being a horror movie, you're automatically going to pique my interest. So jump in the comment section and let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this. So we have some more. I talked last week about this upcoming film adaptation of the Hunger Games Sunrise on the Reaping. Um, I talked last week about about casting news regarding um, the film adaptation of the book, and we have more one more casting announcement. Um, this article again is on CBR, published by Lee Freitag. And this, about halfway down, this article says that per Deadline, Oscar nominee Jesse Plemons has been cast as a young Plutarch Heavensbee in the Hunger Games prequel. Okay. Jesse Plemons, first of all, Jesse, I have to say that Jesse Plemons, I think, is a very talented actor. I think he is capable of. I think everything that I've seen him in, he has this ability to just disappear into the character that he plays and finding the soul of whatever character he's playing, even if he's in it for 10 minutes. He was in a movie last year, excuse me, that I loved, called Civil War, which was directed by Alex Garland. He was briefly in it, but he was scary good in it. And I think he's a tremendously talented actor. Now, so he also was in this Netflix movie called Power of the Dog, and he was great in that. It's one of the few Netflix original films that I've seen that is actually great. So I just wanted to point that out. He also played the villain in the Jungle Cruise movie with The Rock and Emily Blunt. My wife Katie and I, we enjoyed that movie. Sometimes you just go to the movies to be entertained. And we were thoroughly entertained by that movie. My point is, Jesse Plemons is, I think he's a very talented actor. Now, what's interesting, I believe, I was a huge fan of Philip Seymour Hoffman as an actor. Now the reason I bring that up is because he played Plutarch Heavensbee in the Hunger Games Catching Fire film and Mockingjay parts 1 and 2. I was a huge fan of Philip Seymour Hoffman, and I was really looking forward to seeing more of him. I think he was a great actor, and I believe, and I could be wrong, but Mockingjay Part 2, I believe, was one of, if not the last film that he was in. So I just wanted to take a moment and say that Philip Seymour Hoffman was one of my favorite actors, and I was very heartbroken when he died. As a film fan, I was very heartbroken when he died. A lot of people are pointing out, including myself, that Jesse Plemons does bear a strong physical resemblance to Philip Seymour Hoffman. Not that in any way matters. There are a lot of actors who have played even real life people, and they don't look anything like the person they're playing. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that a lot of people are saying that Jesse Plemons does play a strong physical resemblance to Philip Seymour Hoffman. Jesse Plemons is a great actor. And for him to take on this character, which I'm sure that he is aware of the shoes that he has to fill playing this character. And however, I do think it would be unfair for film fans to compare him to Philip Seymour Hoffman. But I think so moving on from that, look, I'm going to be honest, I'm not familiar with the book. I do know that the book does focus on Haymitch. But that's all I know. I'm not familiar with the story. I haven't read the book. I haven't read any of the books. I'm sure that Jesse Plemons is going to crush it, because he's great, and I am sure that we are going to get a younger version. I'll tell you what I would like to see. I would like to see Jesse Plemons not do a carbon copy of what Philip Seymour Hoffman did. I would like to see him play I would like to see him kind of mimic what he did, but at the same time, I want to see Jesse Plemons make it his own. And because I just think he's that good. I just think that Jesse Plemons is that good. So I don't know the extent to which Plutarch Heavensbee appears in the book. I'm just excited to see an actor the caliber of Jesse Plemons play this character and play a younger version of the character, and maybe give little hints character-wise of who that character becomes, So I'm excited for this. I think he's going to crush it, and I'm really looking forward to this movie. I need to see Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So I just wanted to talk about this for a minute, and I think he's going to be great. So jump in the comment section and let me know what your thoughts are on this. Okay, so this next bit of news, I talked a few weeks back about this upcoming film from director Werner Herzog, excuse me, called Bucking Fastard. And it's going to co-star Kate and Rooney Mara. And we have there's some more casting announcements regarding that movie. This article is on Joe Blow, published by Steve Saig. And this article says that Orlando Bloom and Domhnall Gleeson will join sisters Kate Mara and Rooney Mara. I never know whether it's Mara or Mara. For what Werner Herzog says is the final film of a trilogy, Bucking Fastard. I did not know that. According to Herzog, Bucking Fastard is the third chapter following Fitzcarraldo and Grizzly Man. This article does go on to say that according to Deadline's exclusive report, Orlando Bloom plays Gareth Mulroney, the sisterly duo's riotous ex-lover in Bucking Fastard. In contrast, Domhnall Gleeson plays Timothy, their government-issued social worker / mender, trying to help them adapt to modern life after the two become tabloid sensations. That sounds intriguing. Okay, so first of all, let me just get this out of the way. Bucking Fastard. I said this last time. Bucking Fastard. You have my attention based on the title. Okay? And you have Werner Herzog is a very interesting filmmaker and a very interesting cinematic voice. So I'm automatically intrigued. Domhnall Gleeson is great. I really like him. He, obviously being in the Harry Potter films and the Star Wars films that he did. He was also in this movie called Ex Machina, which is great. It's a science fiction film starring Oscar Isaac, and he's great in that. Orlando Bloom, I have to say, and I could be way off base here, but this is just how I feel. Orlando Bloom, I think, is an example of an actor who for whatever reason, after Lord of the Rings and Pirates of the Caribbean, fans just didn't... I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. Orlando Bloom is an example of an actor who was basically handed the opportunity to be the next A-list actor. And for whatever reason, audiences just didn't want to see it. I don't know why. I maybe it was the material that some of the material that he was in was not that good. But for whatever reason, audiences just didn't want to see Orlando Bloom as the next big thing, the next A-list actor, and that puzzles me, and that disappoints me because it almost feels like if he wasn't playing Legolas, or if he wasn't playing Will Turner in Pirates of the Caribbean, people just didn't want to see him. And that disappoints me because I think he's very talented. Sometimes I think he wasn't given the best material. But I like Orlando Bloom. He was in this movie directed by Ridley Scott called Kingdom of Heaven, which is pretty good. It's pretty good, and he was the lead, and he was wonderful. So I just wanted to say that about Orlando Bloom. And I like him. I like him as an actor. It's crazy to me because for and I don't know whether a lot of people know this, but The Lord of the Rings was his first movie. Like he was a student in film school, and then he got offered the role of Legolas, um, in the Lord of the Rings film trilogy. So that can, that's a big deal. Um, and then that led to Pirates of the Caribbean, and then that led to other things. And I thought he was great in Pirates of the Caribbean. Um, so I just wanted to say that real quick about my thoughts on Orlando Bloom and his career. So moving on from that, um, I I think it's going to be uh, uh, kind of it's going to be wild to see him as a riot. It says here that he's going to play the sisterly duo's riotous ex-lover. I want to see Orlando Bloom play that. Like I think that could be a lot of fun. Um, and Domhnall Gleeson playing a social worker. That sounds interesting to me. Um, so so there is a synopsis here regarding the movie, and it says that the movie will focus on two sisters who are so close to each other that they speak in unison, love the same man, and have the same dreams. They even make the same slip of tongue in unison. In in search of an imaginary land, the Orkneys, where true love is possible, they start digging a tunnel through an entire mountain range. Cool. That definitely sounds like a Werner Herzog movie. um, and again, I like the cat. I really like the cast. I really like Werner Herzog as a filmmaker. This sounds very interesting to me. It'll be. I think the standout for me, aside from Kate and Rooney Mara, is Orlando Bloom. Uh, this riotous ex lover kind of character. Nothing against any of the cast, but I think that kind of character is going to be a lot of fun for, like, if you only know Orlando Bloom from Lord of the Rings and Pirates of the Caribbean, seeing him in this kind of a role will be a blast to see, I think. So, you know, this premise sounds intriguing. It definitely sounds like something to see at a movie theater. Um, so jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this. So this next bit of news has to do with an upcoming movie starring Brad Pitt. Um, this article is on The Hollywood Reporter, published by Mia Gallupo. Um, and this article says that Brad Pitt and Conclave director Edward, is it Berger or Berger, will team on A24 feature The Riders. The Riders is based on Tim Winton's novel of the same name, which was shortlisted for the Booker Prize in 1995, and follows a man who travels around Europe, with his daughter, looking for their wife and mother who has gone missing. Okay. Um, that definitely sounds. It sounds like something that I would see. Um, not too terribly much to go on here besides that. Um, that Brad Pitt playing that kind of a role. I really like Brad Pitt as an actor. What's funny is that I for a long time I didn't jump on the Brad Pitt train because um and maybe this is a fault of my own, maybe it's not, but his for a long time he had, and maybe he still does, he had a wild, rabid female fan base. And sometimes, like, I really wanted to watch more Brad Pitt stuff, but his female fan base was so rabid that it just turned me off. Right? And then I saw Moneyball, which is it's great. And he delivers such a kind of relaxed, analytical character. It's the kind of performance that he gives in that movie. I had never seen, like, that wasn't the performance that I was expecting from Brad Pitt. I guess I guess is the best way to put it, and I mean that and I don't mean that in a negative way. I was like, I remember watching Moneyball, and thinking, wow, this guy's a really great dramatic actor. And then obviously I went back and studied his career. I watched the movie that we can't talk about. You know, and I've seen him. I've watched him in other things, but Moneyball was like, wow, that was a really great performance. I'm looking forward to seeing this movie. I really, really I need to watch Conclave, because Edward, the director of Conclave, is directing this movie, and Conclave got rave reviews, and I believe, if I remember right, a few Oscar nominations. So Brad Pitt being in a movie with a director like Edward Berger, that piques my interest. And a man who travels around Europe with his daughter looking for their wife and mother who's gone missing. That's that kind of mystery kind of synopsis has my attention as well. So I'm looking forward to this movie, Brad Pitt has done a lot of great work recently. So I'm looking forward to this movie. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this. So give me just a second here. I'm looking up something so that I don't I don't want to misspeak. I'm looking up something really quick. Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. So this next bit of news, there's an upcoming Western comedy coming. This article is on Deadline, published by Matt Grobar. And this article says that Ben Foster, Manny Jacinto, and Fiona Shaw will topline The Stalemate, an absurdist Western comedy from first-time feature filmmaker Nicholas Arioli, who's directing from his own script. This article goes on to say that the film is currently in production in Santa Fe, New Mexico. The Stalemate focuses on a robber, played by Manny Jacinto, and Sheriff Ben Foster, who, out of bullets and far from town, must negotiate their way out of an absurd, unending chase in the Old West. Cool. You know, I love westerns. I think they went. I think it was. I mean, due to the nature of the business, for whatever reason, westerns went. They went away for a while, but I've kind of missed them, to be honest. I love westerns. So I hope they make a comeback. Quite honestly, because I'd love to. You know, and I understand why they went away. You know, eventually you run out of material and start doing the same stuff all over again. But I've always loved westerns. There's something about the aesthetic, you know, the world. And there's something about, you know, in my mind, westerns have always had a kind of lonely feel to them. There's something unexpected about westerns. There's something like you don't have much to, like when you watch a western, you know that you're traveling back into a time when people didn't have a lot to survive on, and that intrigues me. You know, gunfights, you know, all that. I just love westerns, and I'd love to see them return to where you know we get 30 or 40 action movies every year. You know, I'd love to see 30 or 40 westerns every year. I'd love to see that. Moving on from that, anyway, this sounds great to me. Out of bullets and far from town, they have to negotiate their way out of a chase, an unending chase. That sounds cool. So is the whole movie going to be a chase? That sounds cool. I'm down for that. Ben Foster. I'm a huge fan of Ben Foster. He was in Hell or High Water. He was in, actually, he was in the third. He was in X-Men: The Last Stand. And say whatever you want about that movie. I thought, you know, for the brief time that he was in that movie, he was wonderful. He was in the Punisher movie with Thomas Jane, and he was great in that. For me, the movie that I remember him most from was the remake of 3:10 to Yuma with Russell Crowe and Christian Bale. And Ben Foster was in it, and nothing against Christian Bale or Russell Crowe. Ben Foster stole the show. I mean, he's great. I've been a fan of Fiona Shaw for a long time. You know, I think was it Aunt Petunia from the Harry Potter movies? She was I know she was in the Harry Potter movies. I'm trying to remember the name of her character. I know she played an aunt. I think it was Aunt Petunia. So I'm going to. So I've been a fan of Fiona Shaw. For a long time. Now that brings me to Manny Jacinto, and I'm going to say something that is going to be unpopular, but I don't care. Manny Jacinto was in the Star Wars show, The Acolyte. He played Chimere in The Acolyte. I quite liked The Acolyte, if I do say so myself. I didn't love it, but I liked it. You know, for whatever reason, that series was I wish, I hope that we get a continuation of that series in some way. But I just wanted to say for the record that I quite liked The Acolyte. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. I liked it a lot better than the Book of Boba Fett. That's for sure. So I just wanted to say for the record that I liked The Acolyte, and I thought that Manny Jacinto, I thought he was very, very good in that show, playing Chimere. You know, it was nice to see the reception that he got at Star Wars Celebration when he put on the helmet that he wore in the show. That was nice to see. So I just wanted to say that for the record. Okay. I think so. There's not much. So Manny Jacinto will play the robber, and Ben Foster will play the sheriff. Okay. And it says they're out of bullets and far from town. They must negotiate their way out of an absurd, unending chase in the Old West. It doesn't say. What's interesting is that it doesn't say that this synopsis does not clearly state whether the robber and sheriff are working together or whether they're against each other. I'm just pointing that out. Okay? Now, I think that working alongside an actor the caliber of Ben Foster will bring out the best in Manny Jacinto. I think working with Ben Foster will elevate Manny Jacinto's talent and you know, I'm just kind of putting my filmmaker cap on here and saying, like, you know, when you work with someone who is, when you're an upcoming talent and you're working with someone who not only has been working for a long time but has been very, very good for a very long time, it's kind of like you want to do your best because you're working with someone who has been great for a long time, and you want to do the best job that you can. And I think that Manny Jacinto working alongside Ben Foster, Ben Foster will bring out the best in Manny Jacinto. That's what I'm trying to say. And you know, it'll be nice to. I hope the movie's good because it would be nice to see Manny Jacinto continue to get work, because Ben Foster and Fiona Shaw have been working for a long time. Fiona Shaw was in the live-action Super Mario Brothers movie with Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo. Say whatever you want about that movie, you know. I just thought I would point that out. So this sounds interesting to me. It sounds like this entire movie could be 2 hours of a chase in the Old West. And I love westerns. So again, a first time feature filmmaker, this could go one of two ways. Um, Nicholas Arioli, who this is his directorial debut. Um, it could go one of two ways. Hopefully it's good and he continues to get work, and uh, you know, uh, hopefully this will be another success for the Western genre. So I hope it's good, and I hope it's successful. You know, and so yeah, I just wanted to say that. Jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this. So this next bit of news here, there is an upcoming, I guess you could call it a dramedy. It says comedy drama. I just call it a dramedy. And that is going to star Marisa Tomei, who I love. Marisa Tomei is one of my favorite actresses ever. Going all the way back to My Cousin Vinny. She's great in My Cousin Vinny. So this article is on CBR, published by Monica Cohn. And about halfway down this article, it says that per Variety, Rachel Zegler will star alongside... Excuse me just a second. Excuse me. I love when they come out of nowhere like that. Anyway, Rachel Zegler will star alongside Spider-Man's Marisa Tomei in the comedy drama She Gets It From Me. The two will play a mother-daughter duo. Okay. Let's see. The upcoming... let's see. About halfway down, the article does go on to say that the upcoming film has Julia von Hines at the helm, who previously directed 2024's Treasure and Germany's 2021 Oscar submission and Tomorrow the Entire World. Okay. I have not seen either of those. Not that that means anything. About a little further down, it says that the upcoming comedy drama is based on a true story. She Gets It From Me follows Nikki, played by Rachel Zegler, whose engagement celebration turns into a search for her pill-popping ex-punk rocker birth mother, Charlotte, played by Tomei. Together, the two embark on an anarchic mother and daughter journey to reconnect. Let's see. That sounds cool. So let me just look something up here. So, Marisa Tomei is 60 years old. She looks great for 60, by the way. Rachel Zegler is 24. Now, I only bring that up because sometimes I personally, and again, this is me putting my filmmaker / film student cap on. I think it's important when you're casting a family, or in this case, a mother-daughter duo, to get people who are age appropriate. I think maybe the age gap is a little. It strains credulity. I guess is the best way to say it. Now again, if you had told me prior to today that Marisa Tomei is 60 years old, I wouldn't have believed you. So there is that. So that age gap is. It could be a little hard to believe that Marisa Tomei is Rachel Zegler's mother. That's what I'm getting at. So, look, now that being said, I think that Marisa Tomei's character, a pill-popping ex-punk rocker birth mother, that sounds a little cliche to me. That sounds a little typical of, like, when you look at stories. First of all, I love stories where family members reconnect. There's something in me personally that whenever you're going to whenever you're going to make a movie about family reconnecting, I don't know what it is about me, but there's something in me that if they're making a movie about a family reconnecting, you have my attention. I don't know why that is. I just love seeing families reconnect. Fictional and real. You just take my money. Because those can be incredibly emotional stories. But Marisa Tomei playing this kind of character, it sounds a little cliche. It sounds, we've seen that character before. In my mind, it's all about how the character is written. And how the film is directed, and how Marisa Tomei. I have no doubt that Marisa Tomei is going to bring something real to this character, because that's how talented she is. I'm worried about I'm just worried that this could be kind of a cliche kind of character. That's all I'm trying to say. And as far as Rachel Zegler goes, say whatever you want about Snow White. I think as an actress, I think she's wonderful. She was wonderful in the remake of West Side Story. And I loved that movie. She was wonderful in Shazam 2. So as I haven't seen the Hunger Games movie that she was in. But strictly speaking, as an actress, I enjoy watching her. Say whatever you want about Snow White backlash and controversy, whatever you want to call it. I'm simply speaking, watching her on screen is a very pleasant experience for me, and has been has been a very pleasant experience for me. I as far as uh, I think they're both going to be. I think both Rachel Zegler and Marisa Tomei um, are going to be wonderful in this movie. I, I thoroughly enjoy movies about families reconnecting. I just uh, worry that it could be a little cliche. Who knows? I mean, we'll see, right? I mean, it's all about how it's written, um, and um, I uh, I'm looking forward to seeing this, and I'm looking forward to an emotional story, um, and I hope it's good. I hope it's good. Again, movies about families reconnecting, for me personally, just tug at the heartstrings. So I'm looking forward to this. Hopefully, it's good. What do you guys think about this? Jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. So this next movie um, has to do with an upcoming coming of age comedy. This article is on CBR, published by Justin Harp. And this article says Deadpool and Wolverine actress Dafne Keen has signed up to star in quote unquote raunchy movie The Marshmallow Experiment. Keen will be co-starring with Johnny Knoxville in the coming of age comedy. Let's see. This article does go on to say that this article goes on to say Deadline reports Sam McCarthy from Dead to Me and Goosebumps The Vanishing will lead the Marshmallow Experiment as a sexually frustrated teenager who unplugs from the internet after a disastrous sexual encounter with his dream girl. The teen is then guided on a journey of self-discovery by a talking gorilla. All while avoiding his influencer parents and rogue AI avatars. Wow. Wow. Okay. I so I'm just trying to wrap my head around. I'm trying to wrap my head around Johnny Knoxville being in a movie with a talking gorilla. Wow. Okay. First of all, um, there's something, and I say this with all sincerity. I love coming of age movies, especially uh, especially when a movie is described as raunchy. Okay, there's something in me that goes. Um, there's something that clicks in my head that says, okay, the again, if I can put my film student cap on, when I hear when I hear or see something that is described as raunchy, there's something in my head that clicks and says the actors in this movie are are may be the actors want to be in this movie because they're seen as one way in the public eye, and they want to be in something raunchy to um, so that they can be seen potentially as kind of how they are in real life. Let me try to elaborate on that more. Um, so we all have varying degrees of sense of we all have varying degrees of senses of humor, right? When I hear that people are when I hear about actors and actresses being in a movie that is described as raunchy, that says to me that this actor or this actress have a certain type of sense of humor, and they want people to know that they have a certain type of sense of that they have this type of sense of humor, right? And I know how I feel when I hear the word raunchy, right? Something described as raunchy. I know how I feel when something is described like that. So when I hear that certain actors and actresses want to be in something described as raunchy, that says to me, ooh, they potentially have the same sense of humor in real life that I do, and they want to be seen as someone who has a raunchy sense of humor. I don't know if I'm making any sense with this. I'm trying to describe what I think about this, and I don't know if it's coming off well, but that's just my way of thinking. Okay. So this journey of self-discovery led by a talking gorilla having a disastrous sexual encounter with his dream girl. That and a raunchy coming of age comedy with Johnny Knoxville. Okay. You know, avoiding your influencer parents and rogue AI avatars. This sounds completely crazy bonkers to me, and I am so in for this. Um, Look, as I will say this: if you're a teenage boy and you're about to have a sexual encounter with the girl of your dreams, um, in my mind, that can only go one of two ways. It can either go very well or it can be disastrous. Having a sexual encounter with someone who is completely out of your league and someone who you never ever thought you would have a sexual encounter with. To me, that can only go one of two ways. So let me just point that out there. So this sounds wild to me. And I'm not sure I I'm not. I know my thoughts on this movie, and I'm having trouble uh, putting them together. Look, in all honesty, I love coming of age movies. Um, you know, movies about um, people finding themselves and getting comfortable in their own skin. You know, everybody can identify with that. I'm still identifying with that. Uh, you know, and Dafne Keen, um, um, is it'll be nice to see her. I personally, I've only seen her as X-23 from from Deadpool and Wolverine and from Logan, so it'll be great to see her in a movie like this, and you know, Johnny Knoxville. That man is just. Uh, this is the synopsis of this movie. A sexually frustrated teenager who unplugs from the internet after a disastrous sexual encounter with his dream girl. The teen is then guided on a journey of self-discovery by a talking gorilla, all while avoiding his influencer parents and rogue AI avatars. If that doesn't sound like a movie that would star Johnny Knoxville, I don't know what will. I don't know what does. That is the perfect kind of movie for Johnny Knoxville to be in. This sound again. I know that I would pay money to go see this. I'm having trouble wrapping my head around it. Like, just there's a lot of crazy shit just happening in this synopsis alone. But I know that I would pay money to see this. So I hope it's good. And you know, it'll be interesting to see. I'm just curious, given that it's Johnny Knoxville and it's going to be a raunchy comedy, how far are they going to push it? You know, I'm curious to see how far they're going to push it. um, so jump in the comment section and let me know what your thoughts are on this, the Marshmallow Experiment. So after that, let me try to get. Let me. Wow. So this next bit of news is a little disappointing. This is some DC Universe news. This is DC news regarding the DC Universe that James Gunn and producer Peter Safran are heading up. So I think it was last week or the week before that I talked about this Sergeant Rock movie from DC Studios that Luca Guadagnino would be directing. Now, and this is kind of disappointing news that I'm going to talk about here. This article is on The Hollywood Reporter, published by Boris Kitt. And this Sergeant Rock movie was going to star Colin Farrell. This article says a little bit downways on this article, it says that Sergeant Rock, DC Studios action war movie based that was to shoot this summer, will no longer move forward, sources tell The Hollywood Reporter. The feature project, with Luca Guadagnino in the director's chair, had Colin Farrell as the titular DC Comics hero and was in pre-production as it planned a shoot in England. It was also in the throes of casting, trying to line up actors who would play the men of Easy Company, the combat unit fighting Nazi forces in Europe. Let me see here. This article does say that it is unclear why the project has been shut down, although an insider said it came down to the project's scheduling needs of shooting outdoors. The insider said that the project was not going... This is important. The insider said that the project was not going away and would be reassessed at the end of the year for a possible summer shoot in 2026. Another source raised the possibility that Guadagnino remained untested in the realm of action movies. That is true. And even though the budget was in the $70 million range, a paltry sum for comic book movies, higher-ups may have wavered in their confidence. Okay. So, Luca Guadagnino, he has not done action movies, which is, and if I'm a higher up, a studio head, and I'm hiring a director for a movie who is untested in action movies, I think it's fair to assume. I think it's fair to be a little bit trepidatious about a director coming in and doing an action movie who's never done them before. I think that's fair. So Luca Guadagnino, if you look up his filmography, he's not done action movies. I mean, he's done more dramatic, character-based movies. He directed Challengers last year, which was one of my favorite movies of last year. So what's key about this is that it does say that the project's not going away, which means it's not canceled yet. It could be they're going to reassess it at the end of the year, and they're going to see where it goes at the end of the year. It just stinks. I mean, it sucks, and also, if I'm being honest, it kind of raises questions as to, okay, if this, because it says a source raised the possibility that Guadagnino remained untested in the realm of action movies, the higher-ups may have wavered in their confidence. Okay, if your confidence is wavered that he can't do an action movie because he's never done an action movie before, then why did you hire him? I understand he's an incredibly talented filmmaker, but if he's never done an action movie, and maybe that's just me. I don't know. Luca Guadagnino is an extremely talented filmmaker. Let me just say that. But to me, this is kind of... This might be the first time since James Gunn and Peter Safran took over and founded DC Studios and are doing this whole DC universe. This might be the first time where it's like, okay, maybe you should have, maybe you got a little, maybe James Gunn and Peter Safran got a little ahead of themselves. You know, maybe they got in, maybe they started, maybe they're, again, it says that it's not going away and would be reassessed at the end of the year. Maybe that's what they're doing, is that maybe they still want to do a Sergeant Rock movie with Colin Farrell, but maybe with a different director who's accomplished in action movies. Maybe they want to do that. I don't know. I hope it doesn't go away, because I would like to. To me, I'm concerned that James Gunn and Peter Safran got a little too ahead of themselves. I could be wrong. James Gunn is, he seems like a very intelligent man, and certainly, in my mind, has never made a objectively bad movie. That's just me. So this this kind of sucks, but I'm glad that it hasn't been outright canceled. I'm glad that it seems like they still want to do it. They're just reassessing it. So I would love to see this movie. Maybe they'll get a different director. I just hope it doesn't go away. So I wanted to throw my thoughts out there about this, and see what you guys thought. What do you guys think about this movie being delayed, and do you think that Luca Guadagnino is the right choice for this? All I can say is I hope this movie doesn't get canceled. I want to see DC Studios succeed, and I want to see this movie. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. So this next bit of news, I've talked in recent weeks that I've talked about there's this upcoming Cold War thriller called $1 Billion Spy, starring Russell Crowe, and there have been more casting announcements regarding that movie. This article is on The Hollywood Reporter, published by Aaron Couch. So this article says, $1 Billion Spy has ensnared 3 new actors for the Russell Crowe-led Cold War thriller. Tony Goldwyn, Rufus Sewell, and Justin Theroux are the latest recruits to join a cast of the true life story of CIA asset Adolf Tolkachev, who will be played by Russell Crowe. Let me see here. So Tony Goldwyn will play CIA case officer Burton Gerber, while Rufus Sewell portrays CIA Moscow Bureau Chief Gus Hathaway. Justin Theroux steps into the shoes of CIA case officer Van Spencer, and Crowe's real-life son, Tennyson Crowe, will play his dad's on-screen son, Sasha Tolkachev. That's kind of cool. That's really cool, actually. Okay, so I've talked about the synopsis of the movie before. So as the synopsis of this movie, in this movie, the CIA is going to play a large role in this movie. So it only makes sense that um, um, they start casting for members of the CIA, and it's based on a true story, so that it makes sense. I am not familiar with Tony Goldwyn. Justin Theroux is a very accomplished writer and actor. So I believe he wrote Iron Man 2. That's just one of his many accomplishments, which I actually I really enjoy Iron Man 2. I know it's not as good as the first, but I really enjoyed it. I think it's very good. Rufus Sewell. I first saw him in the movie A Knight's Tale, starring Heath Ledger. And, that movie's a little schlocky, and it's, again, sometimes you just want to be entertained by a movie. And that movie is very entertaining. And Rufus Sewell, I think sometimes the hero, well, every time, the hero is only as good as the villain. And Rufus Sewell was such a good villain in A Knight's Tale. So he's very he's a very accomplished actor as well. So and like I said, Justin Theroux is a very accomplished writer and actor. So I'm sure he's going to bring a lot of talent to the movie. And then you have Vera Farmiga playing Russell Crowe's wife. So you have a lot of talent involved here, and again, the only cast member I'm not familiar with is Tony Goldwyn. I am very interested. I really love movies that are based on true stories, because more often than not, I'm not familiar with the true story. So I enjoy movies based on true stories because I learn something every time. So I'm very intrigued by this movie. I really like. I love the cast of this movie, and this movie sounds great to me. Russell Crowe stars as Adolf Tolkachev, who became disillusioned with the Soviet regime and passed thousands of pages of intelligence to the United States. That's what the synopsis reads. It also says that his portrait still hangs at CIA headquarters as the only non-American honored there. I am very interested in this movie. I think this could be an awards contender, given just the story and the talent involved. I think it could be an awards contender. I really like this cast. I really like this cast, and it sounds like a great story. So, jump in the comments section and let me know what you guys think about this. So, there's a little bit more casting news regarding that movie Pendulum that I mentioned earlier. That Norman Reedus, it was just announced that he's joining. There's more casting news regarding that. This article, give me just a second. So oh dear. So basically, I'm trying to get the article to come up, and it's not working. Hold on. So Jackie Weaver has been cast in Pendulum. Let me see if it'll work this time. Okay, so Jackie Weaver has been cast in Pendulum. This article is on Deadline, published by Rosie Cordero. And this article says, two-time Academy Award nominee Jackie Weaver from Animal Kingdom and Silver Linings Playbook is set to star alongside Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Phoebe Dynevor, and Norman Reedus in the Darren Aronofsky-produced feature Pendulum. The horror movie is currently shooting in New Mexico. Okay. So I talked about this movie earlier. Jackie Weaver is obviously, she's an Oscar caliber talent. And it does not say, this is interesting. So, unless I'm missing something, it does not say who, like her character description, Jackie Weaver's character, it does not give details. So that intrigues me. See, when character details aren't given, or it says character details are being kept under wraps, that says to me that they're playing an important character, either an important character in regards to screen time, or an important character to the story. Like, you can be an important character in the story and not have a lot of screen time. So that's what this says to me. Like, it doesn't even say character details are being kept under wraps. There literally are no character details. So, but you get an actress the caliber of Jackie Weaver. I think it's going to be a major role. Maybe she's playing the leader of that organ. Maybe she's playing the leader at that retreat. Maybe she's playing that. Ooh, that could be cool. That could be interesting. Again, I like I like horror movies where you think something was one thing and it turns out to be another thing. I love that. I talked about everything how I feel about this movie earlier. All I have to say is you get an Oscar-nominated actress in Jackie Weaver involved in this movie. That so in my mind, when you get an Oscar an Oscar caliber actress or actor or whoever, when you get an Oscar caliber talent involved in a science fiction, fantasy, or horror movie, my mind automatically says the material must be great, right? Like, for an Academy level actress to get involved in a horror movie, that says to me that the material must be great. That's just where my mind goes. I don't know. But I'm really looking forward to this. Maybe Jackie Weaver's playing the leader at this retreat. Oh. Yeah, great, Nate. Read the article, why don't you? So she will play the mystical healer Ella Rose. Uh, um, at the retreat. Duh, Nate. Read the article. Um, sorry about that. So that's interesting. That's interesting. Maybe she's one of these kind of. Uh, that could be really, really twisted. That could be really twisted, and I'm down for it. Um, I'm so in. Just take my money now. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about Jackie Weaver playing the mystical healer Ella Rose in Pendulum. What do you guys think about that? This last bit of news here is on CBR, and it has to do. There's a I want to make sure. I want to make sure that I read the article this time. um, okay, so there's an upcoming kind of psychological thriller movie from writer director Florian Zeller. And this article is on CBR, published by Lee Freitag. Oscar-winning actors Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz, who happen to be married to one another, are set to lead the new psychological thriller from writer-director Florian Zeller. Let's see, what's the title of the movie? Bunker. That's the title, Bunker. This article goes on to say, per Deadline, Bardem will play an architect who accepts a morally ambiguous project, building a survivalist bunker for a tech billionaire, leading to his wife, played by Penelope Cruz, beginning to question their marriage after 17 years together. Bunker is described as a thriller that delves into the emotional and moral challenges a couple faces amid the tensions of the world around them, exploring the fears, doubts, and dilemmas that define our era. Let's see. This article does go on to say that a unique aspect of Bunker is that Florian Zeller wrote the English language project specifically for Cruz and Bardem, with the writer-director explaining, I wanted to tell the story of a marriage and was deeply compelled to work with a real-life couple. I immediately was drawn to the idea of working with Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz, two of the most gifted actors working today, who also happen to be one of the most iconic couples. I wrote Bunker for them. This film will push the boundaries of narrative and emotional truth, blurring the lines between reality and fiction in a way that feels thrilling and deeply human. So, this sounds very interesting to me. First of all, I love both Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem. I think they're both extremely talented. This a thriller that delves into the emotional and moral challenges a couple faces amid the tensions of the world around them, exploring the fears, doubts, and dilemmas that define our era. This sounds interesting to me, and I don't want to get too into it, but a psychological thriller that deals with tensions of the world. I don't want to get too much into it, but I think that given our political climate, our current political climate, I I I don't think it's I don't think it goes too far to say that it's possible that that a lot of I'm trying to think of the best way to say this because I don't want to um, given our current political climate, I think it is safe to say that um, there are marriages now. There are marriages these days that could be suffering from the tensions of our world. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. But a, a, emotional and moral challenges a couple faces amid the tensions of the world around them, exploring the fears, doubts, and dilemmas that define our era. That sounds very topical to me. I think there are a lot of couples, maybe not necessarily marriages, but I think that there are a lot of couples now that are currently going through this. And I think, and again, I could be wrong, but I think dealing with those themes in the psychological thriller genre, I think could be very interesting, and I think this could, building a survivalist bunker for a tech billionaire. That's the premise of the. That's part of the premise of the movie. Building a survivalist bunker for a tech billionaire. I think a lot of people are going to see this movie and come away going, yeah, I kind of get where they're coming from. I think this is these are very interesting topics, fears, doubts, and dilemmas that define our era. Are you sure this is a work of fiction? I dealing with these issues in a psychological thriller movie today, I think this has the potential. Audiences have the potential to come away from this movie going, yeah, I can identify with this movie. I can identify with this couple. Again, I could be wrong. I could be way off base. Maybe not. I don't know. But this sounds very interesting to me. It sounds very topical. I love the cast. And it definitely sounds like it also sounds like it could be, given how topical it sounds to me, it does sound like it could could be so identifiable that it's difficult to get through. Maybe. But it definitely intrigues me. I'm very interested to see this movie. A morally ambiguous project that, building a survivalist bunker for a tech billionaire. That sounds very interesting to me. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how this movie deals, as it says, with the tensions of the world around them. I'm very interested to see that. And I love Penelope Cruz. It's funny. I love Javier Bardem. I think I may enjoy watching Penelope Cruz even more. They're both extremely talented. And them being a real life couple as well, I think that could bring they could get a little method with that, get a little method acting with that. That could be interesting. So I'm looking forward to this movie. I think it could be very interesting. I think it could be very kind of, I think people could walk away identifying with this movie. I really do. So jump in the comment section and let me know what your guys' thoughts are on that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that'll about do it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I will be back next week to talk more entertainment news. I don't normally do this, but I just wanted to throw this out here. I don't normally give out movie recommendations just because I don't know what people are into. I don't know what movies. I don't know people's tastes in movies, but so I don't normally do this. But if you haven't already, if you haven't seen the movie Sinners that's out now with Michael B. Jordan and Haley Steinfeld, go see Sinners because it's great. It is not a straightforward horror movie. It's an allegorical horror movie about the antebellum South and the appropriation of black culture by the white man's culture, and it's great, and it's really great. It'll probably be one of my favorite movies of the year, maybe. It's and it really didn't hit me that it was allegorical at first, and then I was like, oh, I see what they're doing. I got you. But yeah, it's an allegorical horror movie about the appropriation of black culture by white culture. And it is a movie that, we shouldn't need reminding of this, but it is a movie that reminds us that, us white folk have a long, sad history of doing not very nice things. And again, we shouldn't need reminding of this. We should already know it. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. It's a great movie, if it's up your alley. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I cannot speak today. So I will be back next week. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you continue to enjoy the show. So if you, like I always say, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, spread the word, and if you have, if you want me to talk about certain movies or franchises, or if you just want to, send me a letter, or you want me to just talk about anything really, I have written down a couple of things to talk about if there's a slow news week, but so until next week, I hope you continue to enjoy the show, and I'll see you at the movies.